Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to my decision day. We'll kick straight off into the agenda. Deputations, Em, I don't believe we've got any today.
No deputations today, no.
Right, and can I just welcome Councillors Warwick, Hiscock and McNair Scott. I will say a few words at the end of the meeting if everyone could just bear with me. Moving on to item 1, which is the County Farms policy. No one's indicated they want to speak on that one, so I'll go straight to Rebecca to do a brief introduction.
Thank you, Councillor Heron. The paper on the County Farms policy sets out the process and the conclusions from the review of the County Farms policy that was initiated in September 2019. And it brings forward a new policy for approval today. The review considered changes in the national agricultural sector linked to the introduction of the new Agriculture Act following the UK's exit from the EU, and also revisited the priorities for the County Farms Service. I think we considered a range of themes and concluded that the County Farms Service should continue to focus on supporting new entrants into farming, as well as progression for our existing tenants. And the new policy provides increased emphasis on ensuring that we achieve really high quality environmental, social and economic outcomes from our County Farms estate. The policy also identifies a commitment by the County Council to continue to maintain the scale of the County Farms estate in Hampshire in order to support those priorities. So we're bringing that policy forward for approval today, and we feel it gives us a really strong framework with which we can continue to deliver the service and ensure that we bring benefits for all the communities of Hampshire.
Rebecca, thank you. And can I just start by expressing my thanks to all the officers who've been involved in this review. It has been a detailed piece of work. There's an awful lot behind what we're seeing today, and I am incredibly grateful for everyone who was involved in that. I also want to express my thanks to the member advisory group, Councillor McNair Scott, who's here with us this afternoon, all the members, and particularly the Earl of Malmesbury for giving up his valuable time. And Christy, if you don't mind, perhaps we could prepare a letter from me expressing my thanks to him for all his help with that.
Yes, of course.
Right, moving to the recommendations on this. Got 3 set out in 2. I particularly want to say I welcome the annual performance report, and it was very nice to see the presentation to the committee yesterday and the members briefing today. I think it's really helpful to have the County Farms on the radar for all members, so I'm happy to approve that recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next one is the Winchester Discovery Centre, and I've got 2 members who've indicated they'd like to speak on this. Perhaps ask them to do so first, so Emma can pick up any point they might raise. So, Councillor Warwick, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Heron. I'm just speaking as the Hampshire County Council representative on the Board of Trustees for the Theatre Royal Winchester, which, as you know, is adjacent to the Discovery Centre and is now turned Play to the Crowd. So it runs the Winchester Hat Fair as well as events going on around Winchester, the sort of outreach events. They're, I think, generally very pleased to sort of see this paper come forward, but are concerned that perhaps their voice might not be continued to be heard. So Emma and I have already discussed this, and I'm just putting in a sort of a plea for the Theatre Royal. There's a huge amount of synergy between the 2 buildings and indeed the shared space between them. I was really pleased to hear the positive plans that we have to perhaps, you know, make that shared space even more attractive to the public. We had visions of a red carpet event, you know, the Winchester Film Festival could take place using both venues. The Theatre Royal, as you will appreciate, have struggled hugely during COVID. They had an emergency appeal, which was very successful. They've had some positive news from DCMS around grants, and they've recently received a grant to improve their audio visual equipment so that they will be able to screen more sort of remote showings. So there's a huge potential. So I think just bear that in mind, that it would be fantastic if both organisations could continue to work together. Thank you, Chairman. That's all I wanted to say.
Jan, thank you, and I'm sure Emma will pick that up, but I am aware from meetings I've done with the Cultural Trust that they are aware of the opportunities that are available to both of them to having a cultural quarter and the joint working there. Councillor Hiscock.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'd like to ask you to start off by endorsing Councillor Warwick's view and pleas for support for the theatre, which obviously is very important as well. But can I also thank Emma Noyce and Paul Satwell for the work that they've done and their teams to bring this together. When we first discussed, well, not when we first, at the end of the review of the library hours, we were disappointed to find that the Discovery Centre was going to suffer from reduced hours, which was a blow, I must say, not well received by the public. However, I think this is a very good solution to that problem. Paul Satwell came to the Town Forum of Winchester City Council the other day and spoke to the members there, and it was well received amongst local members. And I must say I appreciate very much the work that's gone into it. It is something which is a sort of partnership that we need to be encouraging. It fits in very nicely with the City Council's plans as well for the cultural profile in the city and for the other things that's working on. And I think together the three organisations should be able to produce something really very special and make Winchester into an even better place to live. And I'm sure my residents will appreciate the extra time and the extra effort that we're going to be able to see put into the library and the extra results and the extra cultural offer. So thank you very much, Emma, and thank you very much, Mr. Heron, or Councillor Heron, for, I hope you're going to support this anyway. Who knows? But thank you for that.
Thank you very much, and thank you for taking the time to come and say that. That was very helpful, and I'm pleased that the work that I know Emma and her team have been doing has been appreciated. Emma, do you want to say a few words as introduction?
Certainly. Thank you, Councillor Heron. I know you've read the report in detail and you also observed the Select Committee discussion on the matter yesterday, so I won't reprise that. Just to say that the Discovery Centre, Winchester Discovery Centre, is the County Council's largest and busiest library. However, it does cost us £830,000 a year to run, so it's obvious that we would want to look at how to reduce the cost of the building and increase the opportunity provided by income. Hampshire Cultural Trust are an established partner within the building, running the gallery and the city space, and we have looked at, with Hampshire Cultural Trust, at opportunities for increasing the cultural offer provided by the building. We've arrived at a proposal for a joint operating model, which sees the Cultural Trust taking on the operational management of the building and the cultural programming, but importantly, Hampshire County Council's library service retaining the management and operation of the library within that building. The commercial principles that underpin this are that both partners should see a financial benefit from the arrangement, with an initial investment in the first year in the setup, both partners breaking even in year one, and then financial benefits through increased efficiencies and savings for the County Council in year two, and increased income for the Cultural Trust in that same period. Overall, the staffing in the building is expected to remain at the same level, although over time the proportion of staff employed by Hampshire Cultural Trust will increase and the proportion employed by the County Council will decrease. In terms of the property, the County Council has already got an element of property improvements for the Discovery Centre on its capital programme, around the toilets, the cafe, and some of the other space and the lift in that building, as well as some of the other spaces. This partnership enables us to increase that capital programme with contributions from Hampshire Cultural Trust and the opportunity to apply for grant funding to improve the cultural offer from the venue. So the benefits are from both financial perspective, in terms of customer benefits, increased opening hours and increased cultural offer, and we think this really sustains the long-term viability of the venue. I would like to thank both Councillor Hiscock and Councillor Warwick for their positive contribution and feedback to the project. Councillor Warwick and I have spoken, and both the Cultural Trust and Hampshire County Council understand the play to the crowd's concerns over what this could mean. However, I think we all believe that this is a great opportunity to really strengthen the cultural offer in this part of Winchester. An opportunity for all of the organisations to work together, and particularly around that open space and that public realm in front of the Discovery Centre and Theatre Royal. And so overall, I think we can all be optimistic about the future for culture and the cultural offer between Play to the Crowd and the Discovery Centre and the Cultural Trust. And also thanks to Councillor Warwick. He's quite right that Winchester City Council are very supportive of this proposal, particularly around its strategic importance for Winchester. So the proposal before you is to you can see the recommendations to approve the plans to proceed in principle. There is further work to do on the financial model, so we would like to ask your delegated authority to conclude the detail of those discussions with the Director of CCBS and the Deputy Chief Executive and Director of Corporate Resources and the Head of Legal Services. There are also further decisions which fall under Councillor Reid's remit for consideration later in the year.
Thank you very much. And I will say, whilst obviously the financials are always important, from what I've seen, the briefings I've seen, the discussion, I think this is actually an exciting opportunity for both the centre and the wider area. And I think there really is an opportunity, hopefully as we're coming out of lockdown and it's proceeding, I think that hopefully there will be an even greater renewed interest in the arts and culture, and I think this really will help encourage that area to be that true centre of culture within the city. So I'm very pleased. Turning to the recommendations, you say at 5 there's some recommendations there for me, and at 6 to note some recommendations going to Councillor Reid, and I'm happy to approve and note those. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Heron.
Right. Item 3, grants to organisations. Emma, again, that's one of yours. Do you want to say a quick word?
Indeed. Councillor Heron, you're aware that in making decisions around the transformation of the library service last year, the then executive member indicated that we would welcome approaches from communities to take on the running of libraries as independent library offers. We made available a grant of up to £10,000 to each organisation for the setup of library services, and a further amount for any urgent property work that needed to take place in order to fund the building transfer. You have 2 applications before you today, or 2 libraries applying today, one from North Baddesley and one from Fair Oak. Both North Baddesley and Fair Oak are applying for money to set up the independent community libraries, and in the case of Fair Oak, also asking for further funding to support that property transfer. We're recommending that you approve a £5,000 grant to North Baddesley and £13,000 to Fair Oak. There are conditions on those awards, particularly around the property works, which you will see in the report.
Emma, just to ask, because I note that the Fair Oak and Horton Heath Parish Council element of it, rather than the community element, that it is considerably lower than that initially requested. Have we had any discussions with them on that, and have we made clear to them why the award is what is proposed and recommended for me?
Indeed, the Fair Oak and Horton Heath Parish Council element did include some property works which were beyond the scope of what we were able to grant fund. We have fed that back to the Parish Council, and they understand the position of the County Council on that.
Excellent. Well, moving to the recommendation at 2, and I'm happy to approve that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right. Item 4, Joe, I think this is one for you to introduce. I think again had been select committee and was also discussed at the member briefing earlier today. But do you want to say a couple of words?
I will. Thank you, Councillor Heron. So this report really just outlines the use of rights of way and countryside paths that we've experienced since lockdown a year ago, almost to the day. And we've seen a huge increase in the numbers of people going out and enjoying the countryside, which is very good news for us. And there have been really good indications that people have enjoyed their time and really appreciate the service that we offer with regards to rights of way and all our countryside paths, country parks and sites. And this is something that we'd like to retain and build on. However, we have had experience of particularly wet autumn and winter, and I think the 3rd of October was the wettest day for 10 years. And with that, coupled with the increased footfall, means that quite a few of our paths have been damaged across the network. So I'm delighted to be putting in front of you a proposal of how we intend to address those issues and carry out remedial works. We have allocated a sum of £500,000 from the CCBS underspends that we would like to be able to use with your approval to carry out works from across the whole county based on the priority criteria we've set out in the report before you.
Joe, thank you. And I doubt there's a member with a footpath in their division who doesn't recognise these twin impacts of what has been at times dreadful weather underfoot and a high level of usage. I mean, delighted to see people getting out and about in the countryside, and I know we've done a lot of work to try and encourage people to understand how to do that responsibly. But again, I think I'm sure all members will welcome this additional money to try and help recover those paths. I'm sure some of them would have recovered in time, but there will be some where this intervention will be necessary to either speed that or to allow them to recover. Some have been pushed past that point where they're not going to recover well on their own. And again, I'm sure it came up at the select committee and others. You know, no one expects all the paths in the countryside to be pristine all the time. They do get muddy, they do get warm, but there are those that tip over that balance. And I think this is incredibly useful and timely intervention. So I am very happy to approve that recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe, I think it's you again.
It is.
For
it is.
Worthy Down and South Wonston, but I know Councillor Warwick wanted to say a couple of words first. So Jan, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Councillor Heron. And I just wanted to say how pleased I am to see this item come before you today. It's sort of testament to the hard work by the countryside team, and Joe will know what I mean, because every time we thought we were getting somewhere, there was another issue to overcome. But actually, thanks to the landowner in this case, as a significant landowner, who was very happy to support a diversion of this path that meant that it sort of satisfied everybody, so cyclists and walkers alike. And it'll be a fantastic off-road route joining South Wonston, the village, past Worthy Down, where the new Forces Army camp is, right through to the sort of edge of Winchester. There's a little bit more work to do, and Joe may allude to this, because the path is off-road, but it will need to join a cycle route into the centre of Winchester at some stage. And because of the movement strategy, and we've got the building of a large development called Kings Barton, I think that finer detail will need to develop over the next few years. But I just wanted to thank the officers for their hard work on this, and just to say how pleased I am. Thank you so much.
Jan, thank you very much for coming and saying that. I'm sure it's greatly appreciated. Joe, can I hand over to you to sort of do a brief introduction, and perhaps you want to pick up on the point that Councillor Warwick made about the details?
Yes, thank you, and thank you for your support, Councillor Warwick. As you say, I think it's been one of those move forward one step and back two for a while, and I think that summarises in some ways what you're referring to, because we have to take our opportunities to improve the network when they come about, and even if it doesn't go quite all the way yet, it's really a massively important stretch that we're so pleased to be able to help deliver for residents of this area. This is actually a partnership really with ETE colleagues as well, for working with highways using Section 106 funding. And what the approval that we're seeking is the approval to procure those contracts so we can go ahead and deliver this scheme, which, as you can see, has got a lot of local support, and our team will be delivering that countryside staff sort of on behalf of Hampshire County Council.
Chair, thank you. And I've seen in my area some of the schemes that the Countryside Service have delivered through this type of funding mechanism, and they really are excellent. So, no, moving to the recommendations, I'm very happy to approve the recommendations at 1.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And now the fly grazing policy. Who's doing this? It's Rebecca, back to you.
Yes, that would be me, Councillor Heron. Thank you.
I don't think there's much to say, but I'll let you have a couple of words on this one. Important, but fairly technical, I think, this one.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Heron. Yes, this paper brings forward for your decision today a fly grazing policy that formally sets out the approach that the County Council will use to address any instances of fly grazing on its land and manage the issues that this can create. The approach set out in the policy is in line with the provisions of the relevant legislation and the powers that provides for local authorities to remove fly grazed horses. However, I think it's worth highlighting that throughout the process set out, animal welfare is a primary consideration, and appropriate veterinary advice will be taken at all stages of the process. And also that prior to detaining any horses in line with this policy, we would always post a prior warning notice at the site, providing the opportunity for the owner of the horse to remove it before we take the step to detain it. What this policy does is formalise the process that we operate, and the detailed guidance provided in the appendix to the paper also ensures that we have a clear and consistent approach to enacting the policy in the event that such an instance arises. So bringing this forward for your approval today, Councillor Heron.
Rebecca, thank you, and I think it's very useful to have this in place, and I'm grateful for your highlighting the fact that animal welfare is always going to be our principal concern. Let's hope that it's a policy and procedure that we have to use infrequently. I think the past, I think we have used it fairly infrequently, but right. Hopefully it's still useful to have that there. So thank you very much, and I'm happy to approve the recommendations at 2 and 3. Now, just before we close the meeting, I would just like to say a couple of words about Councillor McNair Scott, who is attending this. I think it was your last executive member decision day as chairman of the committee, and before you stand down in May. And I just wanted to express my personal thanks to you, both in this portfolio, expanded portfolio, and my previous part. And to be honest, as my time as a member of this council, you have been a great support to me and to the council as a whole, and we will sorely miss your insight and your wisdom. And I can say that both for the time that I've been a member of the council, and also I can assure you that when I first joined, my late mother pointed out that you were one of those that I should certainly seek out for the wisdom and counsel when I encountered difficult issues. So Anna, thank you very much for coming today, and thank you very much for all that you've done, and you will be very greatly missed.
Thank you very much, Edward, and I'd just like to say I'm particularly happy to see this executive responsibility in such very good hands.
Very kind of you, thank you, Anna.
I really am. Great relief. Thank you.
I really hope that when the restrictions are lifted, we will have an opportunity